Hey there viewers, welcome back to the Self-Made Auto channel. If you're new here, welcome to our channel. A lot of you might recognize this 09 Chevrolet we've got here. It was in a previous video we did a month or two ago. Had a bad left front wheel bearing if I remember right, and had to do some front brakes. At any rate, it's back, but not for the same problem. This time the guy's check engine light is on, or he came in about a week ago with the engine light on. And we took and diagnosed that and found out it had an EVAP leak, and we smoked it out with the smoke machine. You can see it's leaking from the top of the fuel tank. We've got a new part here. We've got this brand new sending unit from AC Delco that we got. It's stuck in the paper here. Dig it out so we don't damage it. Show you what that looks like. So here's what we got to change. It's the whole fuel pump module, they call it. We don't call them fuel pumps anymore, we call them fuel modules. So it's got our fuel level sensor on there, but everything on ours works. The tank pressure sensor, the fuel pump, everything works except the top of it. It's all rotted out, and that's why we have to change it. I'm not sure what GM was thinking when they made these. We made everything out of plastic except for the fuel module. So now we're going to take the tank down and get this fixed. So before anybody asks why we're not pulling the box, you can see why. He's got a little cap work thing on the back, and it's jammed right full of tools. And otherwise, you know, on a newer vehicle like this, we may be tempted to pull the box, but quite honestly, because we diagnosed it last week, I just told him to, you know, drive it for the week. It's not leaking fuel or anything, and run it down on fuel. So right now it's just a smidge below a quarter of a tank. So we got to throw the truck on the lift, going to leave it neutral. We're going to yank the drive shaft out and pop the tank out. First thing first, we got to get the drive shaft out. So we got to free up some room. So I just leave them in neutral. It's the best way I find to get them out. Alright, we'll pull these bolts out, pull the caps off, and we'll pop the drive shaft out. So I've got the straps off it, and I'm just going to get a little bar sticking here. We'll just pop this off. You know, now I know in other videos, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but you see a lot of people get really gung-ho, you know, even on these one-piece drive shafts, you know, marking the shaft where it was in relationship to this yoke. And frankly, I don't understand that. And it's because the shaft was made independently of this yoke. You know, they're not balanced as an assembly. Now, if it's a two-piece drive shaft and you're separating the drive shaft, I understand that. You know, to put the drive shaft, you know, first of all, the drive shaft has to be timed, you know, with its, you know, other joint, plus it was balanced as an assembly. These weren't. I don't worry about these. I don't mark these because frankly it won't make a difference. I definitely make sure the saddles here are cleaned out in this yoke, and the same thing with the caps when we put them back in, and the same thing with these caps that go on here, because you'll see, you know, one side of them is obviously crappy from where it sat. So we just blast them off, we put them back on, and everything's happy. I've never had an issue doing it that way. Now we got the drive shaft out of the way. I'm going to unhook this big canister hose here. I think there's a special way to unhook them, but I just reach up in there with a pick and depress the two tangs that lock it on here. So we want to unhook that one. The other one we want to hook is the fuel line. Now this is a returnless system, so we have only got one fuel line here, and we probably realistically should have you know, relieved the fuel pressure, but I didn't. So we're probably going to get a little bit of a spritz out of it. I'll show you how we take that off. I'm just going to use my same pick. We're going to depress the little blue tabs on this and push them up, I believe. Okay. Whoa, hang on there, people. I broke the tip off this thing, and it's not very sharp now. Plus I can't see because the camera's in the way. Okay, once you get that blue tab up, like I say, we're probably gonna get a little bit of gas out of this. See if I can't get it. Feels like it's in a bracket up here. Come on, there we go. Oh! Well, that wasn't that bad. Look at that, she barely dribbled. Okay, so those are the two lines we have to unhook. I don't remember if there's another vapor line towards the back of the tank or not, but we'll find out when we get her cut loose here. It's got a tank shield on it. We're gonna pop that off real quick. A couple bolts there, and one over here. I'm gonna take and just get the tank bolts loose and make sure they're gonna come loose. Perfect. So this is the gas filler neck. The next step would be is to unhook the hose from the filler neck. We've got a vapor line there, got our fuel line there. This hose is the vent for the rear differential. Must be they really plan on people taking these old Chevys in deep, I guess. I've got a ground wire here that just goes up to the filler neck. I'm going to elect to just unhook the filler neck from up there in the plastic. I'm not going to screw around with any of these, hose clamps or anything. There's lots of room above the frame to just bring the whole mess through. So I'm just going to unhook the ground wire here from the box mount. I'm going to unhook the rear diff vent from the little plastic clip up there, and then the 3 screws that hold the filler neck on. That'll be a whole lot easier for me. Got the one bolt holding the ground wire on. This is the differential vent. I already unhooked that. So now our whole filler neck is loose right here, and we can just pull it right out with the tank, no problem. So we're just going to use the transmission jack now to support the bottom of the tank, pop the straps off it, and let the tank down. And still got wires up there to unhook. We got the wires for the tank pressure sensor, wires for the fuel pump, and I think that's it. And what we'll do is feed the filler neck around as the tank comes down. It should go pretty smooth. Alright, I'm gonna grab an impact. Finish buzzing off our straps. All the bolts are gonna come out. Should be able to let our tank down a bit. Grab my light, I'm going to get up top and get my head up there, and we'll take and unhook the fuel pump wires, and then we'll let it down this way. Get yourself a OSHA approved 5-gallon bucket to stand on. And, I'll show you what these connectors look like when we get it down. They got gray locks on them. makes them kind of difficult to do, especially when they're covered with dirt and salt. There's one. Okay, well I got the connectors undone. Pull our filler neck over. Ground wire. We're home free. So here's the fuel pump assembly right now. You can see the, it's just a piss poor design. This fuel pump sits down and it's just encased by this cavity. I think perhaps if it was up like on a, the flatter portion of the tank, you wouldn't have a tendency to collect so much junk around this. The Chevy Trailblazers are even worse. They sit right down in a well. They usually, when you take those out, they're completely covered. You can't even see them, and you can see how rusty and nasty this one is. A lot of times getting these lines apart can be a real disaster, but these ones still wiggle, thankfully. And the pinhole, if I remember right, we ended up spraying it with some of our tire stuff so we could see where it was leaking. It was like right in this area here. It was bubbling quite heavily with the EVAP machine hooked to it. And I did get a new lock ring because typically these things don't survive, as you can probably tell. So I'm going to take and wheel this thing over by the door. We're going to blow it all off with a blow nozzle. Before you ask, we did plug the filler neck before we took it down, in case your concern was that. So we have no other concerns of contaminating it, but you can see the amount of dirt and crap that sits on top of these tanks. So we're going to take and get this blown off before we pull the fuel pump out. So what we're going to have to do now is, obviously we got to get these hoses off, and hopefully shouldn't be too big a deal. This green connector is just like the blue one that you do on the fuel pressure. This is a vapor line here. So you're going to pull the little green tab up, take that off. This one here we're going to need a fuel disconnect tool for. So I'll flake some of the big chunks of rust off it. We'll get a disconnect tool. And we've got to get the big vapor line off here. Hopefully, I won't snap it from the tank. The big thing is we've got to get it kind of rotating first. Whoa! Hang on! There we go. So we've got that rotating. That's the big thing. These things get rusted so bad they'll actually stick on there. I think it was in that Ford video, with that Ford Flex we did with that filler neck. That one was stuck pretty fast. So these are the little fingers, if you can see them or not, but the little fingers in there that I just depress. You can kind of come from the side, hopefully you can see them. Yeah, the little wedge shapes in there. Well, they're kind of hard to see, so these little wedge shaped pieces, I just take and I flick them. You flick them back in towards, towards the solder half here, and you wiggle it, it'll come off. I think you're supposed to pinch it or something, I don't know. A pick works the best, in my opinion. So snap that back on the tank. I'll go get a quick disconnect tool, pop that off, and then we'll start beating this ring off there. They can be stuck pretty good. So I'll grab a regular 3/8 disconnect tool. Well, it sounds like she got a lot of crust in there to me. One thing you don't want to do with these is, will you hook up there, hose? Is you don't want to pull on them. Here, hold that. You don't want to pull on them too hard because there's fingers in there. And if you yank it, it'll actually bend those fingers and virtually make this impossible to disconnect. Bring it around here, Hannah. I can feel them going in on one side but not the other. I'm going to give it just a little blast, see if there's sometimes poking around in there. You can get this junk to loosen up. So you can unhook this hose all the way. Maybe. There we go. Sometimes this will help. Alright, I think our tool is in all the way now. Yep, there she goes. You just want to take your time with these. You've got those 4 little fingers in there. I don't know if that'll focus on there or not, but there's usually like 4 fingers inside there. And what happens is when you put this disconnect tool in there, it's got to go in all the way, depresses those fingers, and allows you to take it off from this rib. It's what we call a push connect fitting. Of course, these are super crappy. I mean, unless you live in the salt belt, you probably don't see stuff like this. You know, car's in 09, so 6 years old. Almost ready for the scrap heap. So now we've got all that disconnected. The next thing is to get this lock ring off. I found the best method is the air hammer. It's my next favorite thing next to brake clean is the air hammer. We use it a lot. So what I'm gonna do is just get the air hammer. I've got a chisel bit I purposely keep dull, and I'm just gonna kind of rattle around it, kind of bust it loose. You got to be mindful of these metal tabs that stick out of the tank that the lock ring hooks to. You don't ever want to damage those because then you're buying a new tank. But as always, self-main auto, safety third. Got a new pair of glasses, got a note, and some candy from a viewer who's concerned about my personal well-being. Got me some sweet glasses. Here's you, sandbag. See the air hammer? So usually once I rattle them loose like that, I'll try to catch the edge of this ring. Sometimes there's a plastic lock on them. This one doesn't seem to have it. You gotta be careful if you're using an air hammer. It's easy to get down to dig into the tank and you'll rip a big hole through it. I haven't done it, but just be careful of that. Once you see it moving, you go on and blast some of this rust and crap off there. Watch your face. You want to avoid contamination. I look good. I look real good. I like these. Take our ring off. This one wasn't too bad. Taking these off, these things are pretty mangled. probably could reuse it. They're only a few bucks. You want to grab a small red primer. All right. Now we'll lift the pump up out of there. Watch where your locator is. There's a locator on this fuel pump. This one goes in the E3 position. But, I mean, it's basically only going to go where you can hook up your line, so you really can't mess that up, I don't think. Now this module is full of gas, so, you know, don't tip it. I'm going to take this and just set it over in the oil change caddy, and then we'll grab our new one. We got our new module, our new ring. Probably done with these babies. Now I'll stick them back in the box. I don't want to get them dirty. So it comes with a new O-ring, so definitely want to use that. Make sure where the O-ring sits, make sure that's super clean. The inside of this fuel tank is absolutely spotless, so there's no sense in doing any, you know, no sense in draining it down and cleaning it out. It looks beautiful in there. We're going to grab our new module. This is the locator I was talking about. All the fuel pumps have a locator tab. Like I said, this was in the E3 position, which is all labeled here on top of the tank. Up here in the Northeast, these metal rings they put around here with the fingers on them, they get so swollen. Sometimes we have to throw the tanks away because it'll squeeze the fuel pump so much it'll actually break the tank or break the module. It's kind of a common thing that we see also. Get this line back up. This is where you need a helper. So I'll have Hannah come hold this pump down. I'll get the ring on it. Just hold your fingers right there if you can reach it. Hannah's a little vertically challenged. She's like 4'1", right? No? She's camera shy too. So just have somebody hold that down while you get it started. I didn't bring a hammer, but I think we're locked in. Okay, let go of it. Go grab a hammer, a big hammer. We always use the big hammer. Hannah's my summertime helper. All right, thank you. And then we're just going to pop our lock ring back on. Just try to have a look at your O-ring. You want to make sure it's not poking out, make sure it didn't fall down. It's got to be right in the track, so it looks good on ours. Usually they sit in that groove pretty good, so I'm going to hammer around until it locks. That's pretty much it. I get some fluid film because I like to you know, spray these connections down before I hook the vapor line and stuff back on them. Makes them seal good and kind of keeps them from rusting out again. That one, then we've got our fuel line here. Like I say, by the time this rots out again, this truck will be long gone anyways. Being recycled, made into a new Chevy. That's it. There we go. think. Beautiful. I forgot to show you these connectors. Well, maybe on the next one I'll get you. They're not too difficult. They're a lot like most other GM connectors with the gray lock. Just gotta either shift it where we need it. Alright. Make sure everything looks good. Alright, looks good for my house. You just want to make sure you're not pinching any wires up there. You can pinch them on these cross members. But these are all still in the factory harness because nobody's been here yet. And just make sure your filler net gets over. We're almost done. Just get the tank bolted in and line hooked up. Oops. Wow, what in the thunder. That clip up all the way. Oh, it's up all the way. Maybe it's not. What the heck? No, it's not. Get my little pick here. Oh, hang on. Hang on, everybody. There we go. Maybe I just didn't do anything. I just don't know what I'm doing. Alright, I give up. I quit. Let's try this one. That one worked. Hannah, what am I doing wrong here? This technically should work. There, you just don't have to be a weenie. Let's give that thing a push. Okay, beautiful. Throw our straps back on. Big one in the back, little one in the front. Get our bolts. Smear a little never sees on them just in case we ever have to come back here again. Do this. Oh darn. Oh, I can't see anything. Two. We'll just have to hook up the filler neck, throw the drive shaft in it, and we're out of here. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you got to make sure that you clean these caps off on the drive shaft because, well, I should have showed you cleaning them, but these things are super rusty and you can tell where they sit in the yoke. So you see how they got these rust pits, you know, kind of built into them. If you don't do this, I mean, you would have to put this in 100% exactly like you took it out. And the same thing goes for the caps. You got to clean all the rust and crap out on the inside of these caps. because otherwise they'll sit on here crooked. The U-joint will sit in the yoke crooked. And the other thing that's important too is you have to clean off the end of the cap, because you can see that shiny mark on there? Well, that's where it sits in the yoke, and there's an ear that keeps this U-joint centered, okay? If you don't clean this and you don't clean the yoke on the truck and get rid of all the rust, this thing will vibrate like crazy. You'll have just a bad vibration, and that's not good. And like I said, make sure you clean out this yoke too, particularly the edges of these ears. Don't just use a wire brush, because a wire brush just tends to polish the rust, so to speak, doesn't really get rid of it. And then what I'll do, and you don't have to clean down inside these open cavities, that's kind of redundant, that's kind of where the rust comes from anyways, but just basically where the U-joint makes contact, so here in the saddle, and then on that little outside ear. And what I'll do is I'll just spray this all down real heavy with fluid film, same thing with the U-joint, and kind of prevent this in the future. Also makes putting it in, about 1,000 times easier. You don't have to force fit anything. It's a good time to put a U-joint in it if it needs one. But this one here was still pretty good. You can pull the caps off and have a look. They have plenty of grease, and U-joint's not binding or anything, so no real need for it at this point. Alright, so we're going to take and hook our filler neck back up, but we've got our vent here for the differential. We're going to stick that back in its plastic holder up top. If I can. There, get that clicked in. So that's what that looks like. It just sits in a little plastic holder. Stick that back up there, and then we'll grab our bolt. Put our ground wire back on, see if this thing runs. You know what, I'm actually going to leave that rag in there while I get these started, because it'd be just my luck I'd drop one right down the tank. You guys know how I like to drop bolts. All right, success. I'm not sure how many of you guys got a shop dog that can just sleep through everything. Doesn't even flinch. Alright, before we put the tank shield on, let's see if it runs. Turn the key on and off a couple times, see if it primes up. There we go, I just heard it that time. Must be they don't prime when you turn the key on these returnless ones, I guess. Just gotta reset the money light now. Had that EVAP code in it. Gas gauge is sitting just a smidge above a quarter, just like it was when we brought it in. All we got left is our tank shield. Get that hooked back on. Well, bend it first. There we go. Well, there you have it, viewers. Pretty quick, pretty easy, I think. Kind of stinks that, you know, the fuel pump was good and we still had to change it just because of rust, but that's the price you pay to live in the salt belt and live where things get rusty. So all we got left to do now is clear out the check engine light for the small EVAP leak, and I think we're done. I think the job went pretty well. I've definitely done them that are a whole lot worse. And like I say, it's kind of a 50-50 whether or not we pull the box here, because quite often you can have as much labor into yanking a box off, you know, particularly if you're working by yourself, or if it's just, you know, somebody like you know, myself and Hannah, where it might be hard to lift the box off. So really the situation is kind of dictated by how rusty the vehicle is, you know. The older Chevys, we used to always pull the box. I don't say always, but quite often, because if you didn't, it just snowballed into this huge mess where you're doing fuel lines and tank and, you know, everything. But these here, where they're mostly plastic and stainless and stuff of that nature, we'll just yank the tank out, because we can do that quite easily. So I guess that's it. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Check us out on Facebook if you haven't already. You can like us there. We can also be found on Google Plus if you want to connect with us socially. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, I just ask that you do, if you want to stay up to date with our latest publications we put out weekly. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.